Hello, Austin. It is the afternoon of day 2. Welcome. You see, you applauded too. It's even a lot better there. Hi, I'm Sean. I'm just here to answer your questions, or not answer your questions. Oh, it's not my session. That's great. Wait a minute, it's the first time it's not my session. We will be taking questions for this session over here. I will be listening to them and looking at them and seeing them on my iPad. You will be placing them into the application, the good old JNUC app, and voting on what your best questions are and happiest questions are. And we will answer them at the end of this session. Anjay, Alex, come talk Jamf Trust today. Big round of applause.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thanks for having us. I must say this is a bigger turnout than we thought, so thank you everyone for coming. So, as the big title says, we're here to talk about Jamf Trust, the admin and end user experience. There's probably a lot of questions which we will hopefully go through, but today's session is really aimed at like a getting started guide. So there'll probably be more detail that we can do in follow-up sessions. We want to give you a holistic picture. So let's get started with who we are. So my name's Alex, and I'm the product manager for Jamf Trust.
And my name is Andrzej, and I'm the product owner of Jamf Trust.
Cool. So, very high-level agenda today. I'll be starting off with a bit of an introduction. It'll be kind of more high-level, some of the principles behind it, how we came about with this app. And then I'll be handing off to Andrzej to talk about the capabilities and some of the management aspects of it. And then he'll hand it off back to me to talk a bit about what's next, like what we got in the roadmap, so moving forward. So what is Jamf Trust? Many people don't realize that we actually are an app that works across multiple laptop and mobile OSs, including iOS, iPadOS, macOS, but Android and Windows as well. It's readily available on the App Store, Play Store, or as a direct download for Windows. It's also part of most of your packages, so including Business Plan, Jamf Protect, Connect, and Safe Internet. It works best with managed devices, of course, but it also does support unmanaged, so particularly useful for organizations that have a bring your own device policy. We do strive to have regular updates with our apps, so we do a 2 to 4 week cycle depending on the platform, and if there's not big issues that happen along the way. And we do actually reserve capacity for customers who directly contact us and say, hey, something's not working, or can we put this in? So a recent example we've had with some good customers of us is we've been gradually improving URL schemes, which has gone down very well, but that was not something we had planned, up front in our roadmaps, et cetera. So we do try to keep some dynamic capacity to address customer concerns or issues. So we are flexible, and we do want to talk to you all. So, next slide, there we go. So I wanted to just spend a minute or so talking about a bit about the background, some of the guiding principles before going into the meat of the presentation. So what does trust actually mean? Well, the Oxford Dictionary defines it as someone that is good or honest, or something that will not harm you, or something that is safe and reliable. And that's, of course, the principles that we want to adhere to, being particularly safe and reliable. But also we want to provide this unification of users and technology. So an interesting story, when we were developing the brand for Jamf Trust, we were talking about like how are we going to show this relationship moving forward with users and technology. And actually some of the inspiration came from the Celtic Love Knot, as you can see in the top corner. There's different iterations of this. So there's different versions, but the common principle is about unity between two people. And we thought that was a great idea for our app of users and technology working together to be productive. So which leads us into our principles here ultimately of simplicity, consistency. So we already talk about like multiple platforms, supporting features that work across all platforms, quite a challenge often. Obviously, it needs to be secure. And at the same time, we do want to respect user privacy. So an example, there was a good talk from Hanan, our colleague, about on-device content filtering, a good example of how we try to preserve user privacy. So to get us warmed up as well, I just wanted to share some interesting facts about Jamf Trust. So I thought it might be interesting to share this just to show some of the context and versatility of the app. So we're not focused on a particular industry. We try to solve holistic problems for customers. So we do support over 10 industries from financial services, real estate, gaming, just to name a few, telecommunications, education, I could go on. So as I said, like we try to solve generic problems, not focus too deep into one industry. We already mentioned about the multiple 5-platform support. And of course, our apps on Jamf Security Cloud, which we'll talk about in a second, and Jamf Safe Internet, we're working 24/7. So what I actually find quite fascinating personally is like the lowest point we ever have is over 100 users per second using our platform. So on average, it's obviously higher than that. But at any point in time, we'd never drop below 100. So I thought that was quite amazing about how it's always in use. And as part of that, we have a lot of notifications. We do obviously push notifications, local notifications, etc. So we do over 3 million a day, which leads us into, we also support multiple languages. We support 8 main languages. There are more coming. And it's not just on the end user app, the Jamf Trust side, it's also in our documentation, as well as the admin console radar, which Andre will show you in a few minutes. And then that's actually interesting, the heat map, that we have global coverage. We're expanding across in all directions. So we are trying to, solve the world's problems at once as best we can. So okay, I'm going to hand off to Andre now. He's going to drill into a bit of what service capabilities are.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So before we dive into service capabilities, a disclaimer, it will be a very light, high-level touch. If you are interested in the details that touch the service capabilities, just fire some message towards us or just come to us after the session. So as Alex mentioned, Jamf Trust is versatile, it's flexible. It supports various service capabilities such as zero trust network access or endpoint and network security. But wait, there is more. So let's go together through the capabilities and see how the end user experience might look like. So let's start with the pinnacle of securing access, zero trust network access, ZTNA. Is here to replace the traditional VPNs. It's lighter, faster, and it respects user privacy. It provides encrypted access to private resources in any location, ensuring that access to sensitive data and resources are protected and only assigned to who need that at a time and on secured and safe devices. The traffic here can be routed through different global locations or single location, depending on the needs of the customer. ZTNA is a crucial part of the trusted access scheme that you've been hearing about on yesterday's keynote. It helps organizations remain compliant, but also safe and productive. ZTNA for the configuration requires identity provider. We support Microsoft, Okta, and Google. More information on how to set up the IDP from admin's perspective will follow later on. Okay. Secondly, security. This is endpoint and network security. It offers protection for devices from various threats, vulnerabilities, and data leaks. Admins are able to define policies on which threats the devices should report on, and based on these reports, to assign an overall device risk score. Such policy can be, for example, out-of-date operating system, visiting phishing or malware websites, and not having a passcode set. There's more, so we'll see it also later. When a security event happens on the device, the user is notified and is presented with the current device risk score in the app's UI that you can see on the picture. Thirdly, we have content controls, also known as internet content filtering and usage controls. This capability allows you to manage your organization's data usage. You can set data caps, thresholds, and notifications, both on domestic and roaming networks. You can also apply content filtering and block specific apps, sites, and services from being accessed from the device. End users here will be presented with a block page in case they reach the data cap or restricted resources. Thirdly, you may have heard about this yesterday on the keynote. A fairly new addition is Employee Badge. It is allowing our users to use their managed iPhones to access offices and physical spaces. Just like your physical badge now, but this one lives in your digital wallet and it's always in your pocket on your wrist. It can be secured with a passcode and in certain cases can be used even when the device needs to be charged. Again, this one requires identity provider to be configured as similarly to ZTNA, as well as Swift Connect account. Swift Connect here is our partner. This one is enabling the connections to various access control systems. This capability is currently available on iOS and watchOS and will be soon available on Android. Lastly, we have Jamf Device Identity, which we have built together with AWS. On their site, it's called AWS Verified Access. It provides the access policies to AWS users so that they have access to AWS-hosted resources. Here, Jamf Security Cloud, through Jamf Trust app, delivers the device context, which means device risk score and the flag if the device is managed or not. So, based on this device context, AWS customers can define access policies to their resources. So this gives admins much more control and sense of security compared to just logging in. So we ran through the service capabilities and the user experience. Now let's talk about admin's perspective. We'll go through the configuration and deployment process. For this, we will mainly use Radar, our admin's console, which you can see on the screen. By the way, it has just been updated last week with a new login screen. First of all, let's begin with configuration. First step is to define the identity provider. It is located underneath the integrations section. Selection from Microsoft, Okta, and Google services are available, and it is as simple as providing the right credentials acquired in the IDP. Second step of the configuration is creation of the activation profile. Activation profile here is used for device enrollment and setting up its capabilities and their properties. Each activation profile can be customized, and during the activation profile configuration flow, the activation profile wizard will take you through the process. You will be able to select this desired service capability and adjust it. For example, you can make the ZTNA mandatory, add a block page, or choose the right identity provider. Activation profile is then used for deployment, which we will talk about in a moment. So let's continue with configuration. Before we deploy, we need to adjust the access policies. You can configure ZTNA access policies. They define the applications and websites that users can connect or access via ZTNA, and the rules by which those applications are accessible. For example, it is possible to set up the contextual policy to allow the access only to the devices that are not exceeding the defined risk score set by the admin. Secondly, similarly to access policies, the security policies allows admin to define the response to threat events occurring on the endpoints. With this, admins can define and adjust threats and their severity. This then after can result and will result in the device risk score, which the result can be adjusted as well. Before we move into deployment, we have covered only a fraction of radar. It is very powerful and feature-rich. For example, it supports various reports, like how the ZTNA is used in our install base, or which threats they are currently located on the device. So, and much, much more. Let's talk about deployment now. We have everything set up, so we can deploy the configuration profile to the device. What we need to do is open it up, to open the activation profile and select the right enrollment method. We support managed enrollment. Of course, it works the best with Jamf Pro, but it works with other UEMs. Open enrollment for BYO devices is also supported. With open enrollment, you can simply paste the activation profile link onto the device or generate a QR code in Radar and scan it on the device as well. So this is particularly useful when your devices are not managed and you support BYO. With managed deployment, we need to download the configuration profile or activation profile from Radar and push it through the UEM platform of your choice. Within Radar, you are able to see the configuration profile details and you can download it directly. For subsequent deployment into MDM, in Jamf Pro, you can simply upload the profile and push it to the device, and then you can allow the users to activate the app. It is as simple as logging in into Jamf Trust. So this covers the end user experience, service capabilities, and admin experience, configuration, and deployment. You can find all this and much more in our product documentation. Now, let's get back to Alex.
Thanks, Andre. We only have one clicker, so, so we have to share it. Okay, so in the keynote, I'm sure you've all heard about trusted access. So we are heavily invested into supporting the trusted access framework, combining the best of identity, device management, and endpoint and network security. So the good news is deploying Jamf Trust gives you a lot of the building blocks that you need for the trusted access framework. In particular, if you're adopting the network access capability and security capabilities that Andre just talked about. So we recommend at least exploring Jamf Trust for your trusted access framework. So what are we working on next? So legal have told me I shouldn't go too crazy here, so I've had to compile these into 3 broad topics here, but I'm hoping this will be helpful just to show you where we're thinking and what the direction is for us. So there's 3 main categories, as we talked about: the deeper integrations between our Jamf offerings, which obviously leads more into the simplicity and consistency messaging that we were talking about at the beginning. We also want to strengthen our compliance in particular use cases, especially with ZTNA, and enhancing our end-user messaging and alerting for further simplicity as well. So going into the deeper integrations, I could probably tell you this is probably the most requested thing we hear from customers, that we need to make sure everything works better together, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in the next year. There's probably 4 main categories. If we break this down, there's probably 4 main categories, despite 3 bullet points. So the first is Jamf Pro, of course. So an area we're looking to address in the short term is how we do generating configuration profiles. So as Andre mentioned, we can create your activation profile, which is where you define the services that you would like. And at the end of that experience, you'll generate a configuration profile. But some of the feedback we've received is that wouldn't it just be nice I push one button and it goes into Pro directly instead of me having to download it and upload it into Pro? So that's what we're exploring at the moment. The other thing is also around activations of Jamf Trust. If you have Connect, I'm pleased to announce that we have mentioned this in the past, but it's coming soon, I promise, is seamless activations from Jamf Trust when you have the Connect agent installed. So from an end user perspective, they won't have to do anything to activate. So we reuse the same identity credentials from Connect. Next would be Protect. So essentially, we would like to provide better mechanisms of sharing data so we get a more holistic overview of your device and any risks, etc. So we are both, in the same space. So we would like to collaborate a bit more with Protect Agent. So that's a big one as well. And then we also have some workflows, in particularly around shared devices. So a problem we've had historically is around shift workers, for example, that they need to log in and log out a couple of times a day or whatever time period. And something that we want to improve on the Jamf Trust app is supporting that. It's something that we haven't historically done very well, and that's something we are looking to address. So we're looking to partner up with the setup and reset apps. So you can wipe the device, and then when you set it up again, it will have Jamf Trust, it will have ZTNA enabled, all out the box without any involvement with platform SSO, etc. And then when they end their shift, they can use the reset app and wipe it, ready for the next user to use. Sorry, next slide. Sorry, there we go. This click is a bit sticky. The next broad category is around strengthening our compliance story. So, of course, key concept of zero trust is never trust and always verify, and that's what we are looking to push further on. So we're looking to ensure that we have additional authentication or verification policies in place that periodically would request users to verify who they say they are and not just trust that they are who they say they are. That can be done on a time-based metric, but we're also exploring on doing it on other events, such as if we think your device has changed its risk score, as Andre is talking about, or any other device criteria, maybe it's in a different geography. So we can say, hey, can you just verify who you say you are? In addition, we're also looking for, on the fail-safe mechanisms, greater flexibilities for admins to revoke, or at least temporarily revoke, access to when a device may be reported lost or stolen, or there's just something suspicious, and you want to lock it down, check what's going on before resuming. Of course, a chain is only as weak as its weakest link, so we're trying to enforce every part of the chain. And lastly, enhancing messaging. As you already saw, we deliver millions of messages per day on Jamf Trust, and we think we can do better. We think we are quite reactive to things, so we want to, we tell you after the fact something's happened, and we would like to make it a bit easier and also bring end users into the experience of helping understand why something is dangerous or why we need to do something on a device. And so we are actively exploring maybe proactive messaging on how to do this. It also would like to help educate end users to promote self-remediation scenarios. So instead of us having to send 50 emails to end users to say, can you do X, Y, Z, we want to help with the education of it and explain to them why they need to do something so they do it themselves when they're ready. So it's, of course, ultimately all of this is to help reduce the issues and the queries that admins may receive, and also help with end users understanding what value they're getting from the tools that we deploy on them. So just to wrap up, I hope you've walked away today that with a better understanding of what Jamf Trust is. I appreciate this is pretty high-level presentation, so we are very happy to answer questions or speak to you afterwards or even drop us an email, etc. I hope you understand now what Jamf Trust is, what platforms we work on, what service capabilities are, how you can deploy to them, how we work with management like Jamf Pro, and a bit of a snapshot of where we're heading in the future. So thank you for everyone for participating, and obviously we're here to answer questions or if you have any comments. Yeah, so thanks.
Thank you.
And there are questions from the crowd. Feel free to put questions into the JNUC application and vote on questions that you like the best. Number one.
Let's hear
You
it.
didn't realize you were on a talk show today, did you?
No.
There's going to be several questions that are in this form of the same thing here. So what is the difference between Jamf Trust ZTNA and Jamf Connect ZTNA?
Okay, so Jamf Trust is essentially the platform. So you can have Jamf Connect, which is the package of services, and you can deploy Jamf Trust, which is the app where you can deploy ZTNA into. So it's actually what an end user would be seeing is Jamf Trust, which is using the ZTNA policies. But you purchase it as part of Connect.
So Jamf Trust is the name of the application. Jamf Connect is the licensing scheme that somebody came up with, and we apologize for that. Fair enough.
Comment.
Same thing there.
No.
Yeah, there we go. So what is the difference between Jamf Trust and Jamf Security Cloud?
The question is, what's the difference between Jamf Trust and Jamf Security Cloud?
Yes.
Okay. So the
I
trust.
think you covered it, though. So.
Yeah, well, I can say it again, of course. So ultimately, the cloud is where all the logic sits. Everything that the app does is reported into the cloud. That's where the logic sits. That's where decisions are made, etc. It's also how admins can access through Radar into all the data that's required. So the cloud is this broad concept, and the app is essentially the vehicle pumping data into this cloud that can be serviced for whatever purpose.
Lastly, I'm going to steal this one because I think it's funny. What's the difference between Jamf Trust and Wandera?
Jamf Trust is the evolution of Wandera, so it's the better version of it. So we've built on top of it.
I do have to put a quarter in a swear jar somewhere, by the way, for using the
I was
old
going to
name.
say, you're going to be told off for that.
Yeah, I owe some money someplace. Here we go. Here's a good one. How does Jamf Trust risk scoring compare to CrowdStrike ZTNA?
Okay. Can't really comment on that because I don't.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can Jamf Trust be used as a risk score alternative when deploying something like Okta Device Trust?
I would probably say yes, but I won't go into details because that's not my core area of expertise, I'll be honest.
You're asking me the questions is what's happening here.
Yeah.
They're asking the stuff that crosses over all three of us.
Yeah, and that's
unfortunately. So sorry
the
for-
thing. So we're happy to go into deep dives into each of the service capabilities, of course. So there will be a security one.
I'll help you out on this one. So here's the trick. Okta and Azure and all those excuse me, I just swore. Entra ID, sorry, I have to say Microsoft Entra ID every time. What they do is they use positioning from things like Jamf Pro reporting if the device is managed, and then they report is traffic coming through the ZTNA solution as part of their risk. What Jamf Trust is doing is reporting on the device state in addition to the information that Jamf Pro, the MDM, can actually calculate. So they're used together, better together, Jamf and. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Just help. I figured, hey, I'm here. All right. Oh, here's a good one that you definitely won't know the answer to. What's the difference between Jamf Protect and Jamf Trust? What does Jamf Trust do?
Yeah, so this is something we are actively addressing as part of that integration picture. So the security, so Protect is the package again, but there's also an agent that we want to integrate with. So Trust, there's a bit of overlap on what Trust can do and what Protect can do. Protect is probably a more superior offering for Mac, but we have a broader coverage across other platforms, of course. But in the future, yes, as I was talking about, like we are looking to merge all of these, so it'll just become Protect.
And then Jamf Protect is actually the application that runs on Macs to detect behavioral situations. Cool. I'll skip that one. Does Radar have a developer API for any workflow automations?
Not that I'm aware of, no. But it's something we have been talking about, so it's something we could take back, and there's high demand for it, of course.
Yeah, but apart from that, as you mentioned, we support URL schemes that you can automate some workflows with. So we support like user signing out, opening the app, enabling ZTNA, and more. So this can be pushed through the MDM to trigger these actions.
On the client side, yeah.
On the clients, yeah.
Hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And here's sort of a strange combination of question for product names, but I think it's because we just talked about like what's Protect, what's Security Cloud, what's Jamf Trust. What's available for Chromebooks?
So we don't have an agent that runs on. So we don't have a Jamf Trust agent that runs on Chromebooks, but we have had some success with using the Android app actually on Chromebooks. So we have a limited amount of customers who run the Android app for ZTNA on Chromebooks, but we don't have an agent that runs on there. We do support an agentless approach though, which is also done through Radar, but it doesn't involve Jamf Trust.
You guys keep submitting such good questions inside here. Are you planning on supporting any other IDPs, any other identity providers in the near future?
Not in the immediate future. Maybe Ping would probably be the next one, but we haven't had much demand for it yet. But as I said, like if we hear from customers that it's something they want, we could consider it, yeah.
Can you dump information in from Jamf Security Cloud into any sort of SIM or SIEM?
Yes.
Excellent. Is Splunk one of them?
Yes.
There you go.
that was actually a fairly easy one this time. Yeah. Thanks.
I had a softball one in for you every once in
yeah.
a while there. So, in fact, I'm going to softball one that was a question in the form of a product request, actually, it seems here. So, is there a specific reason why the app has not been configured to change the color of its icon when Jamf Trust is working?
Okay, that's a good one. And actually, I think there was something on Mac Admins about that. So it does change
The
tones.
accent.
Sorry?
It changes the accent of it.
The accent or the tone. Yeah. Depending on if you're enabled or disabled.
So it's really subtle, is what you're saying.
It's subtle, but interesting. When we were in Wandera, which I'll take the swear jar, sorry, we actually did have colors, but we were told off by a lot of customers saying that that's not what they liked, and they wanted it to match the other icons in their menu tray. So, and also according to Apple's guidelines, they recommend that you don't use bright colors or distracting things in your menu bar. So, which is why we went with the more toned down version, but we are thinking about maybe there's a way to customize that. It's not there today, but it is something we are.
I've been involved in many different product conversations with angry back and forth on should we follow the Apple product guidelines or not. Yeah, it's fun times. How does Jamf Trust and ZTNA replace VPN?
So I think a whole session on ZTNA would be warranted, but like on a very super high level, it's the VPN replacement is ultimately, we're not using the entire thick pipe, my analogy is like the traditional VPN is like a thick connection. Everything has to go through a VPN. It's obviously expensive and heavy and probably quite slow. And what ZTNA provides is obviously a lightweight. You don't need to run all traffic through your VPN, only the ones that you define through your access policies, as Andre was talking about. So you can say, let's say, Workday, only Workday needs to run through VPN, but if you're using Zoom, don't run everything through your VPN. It's obviously quite expensive, so that's the biggest differentiator. But as I said, like I'm not doing it justice. I think like we will do a whole separate session on ZTNA alone. So.
There you go. Follow-up question to another question that we just did. What is the difference between Jamf Trust and Jamf Safe Internet?
So Jamf Safe Internet is the portal or the admin console, but it also you can deploy Jamf Trust as the agent that you utilize as part of that. So Radar and Safe Internet are kind of counterparts in that scenario. Obviously, Safe Internet being for education customers.
With 3 votes on this question, you need to kind of clarify that and bring that into 3 different questions. My goodness. Let's see if I get some other ones here. Go ahead. Is there a matrix for which Jamf Trust capabilities require management and which will work specifically on BYO? Bring your advice.
We're happy to update the documentation, but if the question is, do certain capabilities only work on managements? Yes, so they will be. And it is in our documentation, which I could try to pull up afterwards.
Yeah. Also, at the same time, through the activation profile creation process, you are informed on which capability requires an IDP.
Yeah. Well,
So if you select one that requires it, you will know about it.
yeah, that's a good point. In Radar, there's the wizard, so to speak, that tells you what you need for it.
There's some good questions in here, but I think we're probably going to wrap it up because they look like very specific user individual specific questions here for you. But here's a good one. With all of the data coming from Jamf Cloud and device status being pumped into the cloud, how does this affect performance in different geographical areas around the world?
Oof, it's a very broad question. So we don't capture anything personal, so we do strip quite a lot.
To clarify too, they clarified specifically saying that always-on VPNs seem to be a big problem for them.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think they're looking like, how do we handle being at a different location versus VPN going to just one destination?
It's actually something we're looking at too right now. I don't want to divulge too much, but it's an area around how we route traffic, all that across different geographies. Yes, so I would like to park that and if it's all right, and come up with a follow-up on.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually say that the questions here are all been either duplicates or answered, except for this last one, which is someone is out here is trolling. When are we going to support Ubuntu?
Ubuntu. I don't know. It's a bit, if there's enough of you asking for it, we'll look into it. Quite honestly, I'm not too aware of too much demand, but please, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Last question then, where will we be able to find you throughout the rest of JNUC so they can answer all these lovely little individual onesie-twosie questions?
Well, we'll stay around here a bit if you like, and we'll be roaming around for the next couple of hours. So I'm quite friendly and approachable, so is Andre. He's a big guy, but he's actually a nice guy.
I could
Just come up to us or email us even, or whichever. So,
very good.
yeah.
Thank you very much for all your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.